Hi, everyone. I just wanted to make a public apology. You know, I did a lot of bad stuff as a kid, and then I did something really stupid, and it got me the ability to move from where I grew up. I went to Hawaii. I had a really good life, but I learned a lot of life lessons because I didn't have it good necessarily at first in Hawaii. I was homeless at first. I went there with $10,000, and that's not enough. But my first day there, I got there, got off the plane, met some sailors, went to a nudie bar in Waikiki. Went back the next day, started looking for work. I really liked Waikiki, started looking for work. I looked all day, put in apps everywhere. I was looking for, mundane jobs. I'm a guy with an 8th grade education. I met this guy, Richard Belcher. Sorry for throwing you out there, brother, but I met him and in a bar, a little dive bar on Lewis Street called Red Lion, and they had dollar drafts. We didn't pay for it as regulars. They pretty much gave us our beer, but I went in there because the beer was cheap, and I sat down, and the old boy said, "Well, what kind of job are you looking for?" Mr. Belcher said this. And I said, "Man, right now I'll shovel cat shit out of the sand on the beach if it'll pay, He hooked me up with this company called CES, Corrosion Engineer Specialist. I went the next day, applied, did the on-site interview, the whole thing. Things were really good for me because while I was in that nudie bar, I met a dancer. Actually, I didn't even meet her. She just heard, and I went there the next night after I found out Richard had set me up for this job, and she offered me a place in her high-rise condo if I help her do some construction. I know it sounds like a porno, but it wasn't. So I did that. She got mad at me because I drank a lot, and she accused me of drinking her alcohol one night, and I showed her the bottle of mine, the exact as hers, and I was like, I ain't drink, and I got defensive, if you know me, when I get defensive, I get loud, and I'm kind of rude, and for such a small guy, I get a little scary, especially to a female. I mean, it's not intentional, it's not how I mean to come off, it's just how I come off. Anyway, she asked me to leave, so I did. This other person that I'd met, this guy, I can't even remember his name, but he was a garlic eater, and he never stayed in this apartment that he had, and I went and stayed there for about a month while I started the job at Pearl Harbor, painting Navy ships, corrosion engineer specialist. That's what we did. We painted Navy ships. We had to get secret clearance, all that shit. Work on nuke subs, everything. I got an 8th grade education. Anyway, so I did that. He kicked me out. You see that tooth that's missing? Come to find out, that's an extra canine that I had, and I broke it off on a pork chop. It didn't come out immediately. I faked the funk, and it stayed there for a while, and that's a whole other story for a different day. So I'm working at Pearl Harbor, and I was homeless, but Richard would give me a ride because he lived in Waikiki in a hotel because he was from out of San Diego, and you know his company paid him big bucks, you know, to do the same thing I was doing, but overseer. Anyway, so I get in at the Y, and like a couple weeks later, and funny story is in Waikiki it's not Kaukai, maybe it's Kaukai, I don't remember, but on one side the prostitutes are female, on this side they're all trans, they're ladyboys, anyway, so I was on the ladyboy side sleeping by the hotel where Richard was at, and that but at night when I was hiding behind some bushes sleeping, and the trans hookers knew I was there, and when they'd take their johns to the hotels that were around, they would watch me. They would protect me, and that's no shit. They had my back. They seen me around. They knew I was trying. They knew I was, and you know what? Big ups to those. I don't know how to refer to them. They, thems, women, whatever. But, so I get in at the Y and I meet these local kind guys. Ron and mother buddy Kai. May he rest in peace. And they were court ordered to stay there because they were in some kind of drug court program or something. And anyway, we made fast friends, We made fast friends. And I got pictures of them, by the way. And I ended up leaving Pearl Harbor because one day I got off the bus. Well, every day I get off the bus and I go through Waikiki, and there's all these art galleries. And in these art galleries, I would go dirty as hell every day and just learn and admire the paintings. I mean, they are beautiful. There was one little bar on Kalakaua called Nashville Connection. If you blink, you'd miss it. It's underneath a hotel. It's hidden. But it's a country bar in the middle of Honolulu. And I went down there one night, and I'm sitting and I'm having a beer, and, and I meet this old boy from Alabama, Alan. And Alan is, like I said, from Alabama, but he turns out to be the director of Lassen Art Galleries. All three of them that's on the strip there, he's big tippy-top boss other than Christian Lassen himself. And he says, Southerner to Southerner, I know how hard it is, and I'll hire you. You can come in and change light bulbs, and when you get off the bus it was supposed to be my second job. Well, I did that. I'd come right off the bus, dirty, stinking, tank top, hard hat, all that. I go in and start changing track lights, because they shine them on the paintings and make them pop. It's a sales tactic. When you get them home, unless you have that same track lighting, it's not the same. It'll never pop the same. And these are $100,000 pieces of art, $1 million pieces of art, originals and such. He is a living artist who is very wealthy, kind of like Lisa Frank or Thomas Kincaid was. But anyway, so one day I'm in the gallery and I'm changing some track lights, and the dealer who was working there, the art dealer, he left to get lunch real quick, and was because it was a slow day. Well, this Japanese couple comes in, and they don't speak English or anything. And I felt weird not acknowledging them, so I did. And as I did, they start looking around. Well, anyway, there was these bronze frog sculptures by Frank. I can't remember his last name, but I ended up selling them 2 of them. I had to wait for the dealer to get back to finalize, the sales and everything, but I sold them. I sold them on them. It was a done deal. And from that point on, they hired me to be a sales dealer, an art dealer for Christian Reese Lassen. So I put in my 2 weeks notice at Pearl Harbor, and I ain't gonna lie, the money was better at the gallery, the insurance was better at the gallery, the benefits far better, so it was a better life. And I got to dress up nice, even one day, I was walking down Kawakawa, and one of the pimps saw me, and he was like, dude, we all been watching you since you got here. It had been like 6 months, a year, something like that. And he said, we've been watching you since you got here, and we all were like, that dude is in over his head, and he's gonna drown, And he said, now here you are walking around in dress clothes with nice shoes and haircut and all this good stuff. And he was like, man, and he gave me a joint. And I ain't gonna lie, I smoked that joint, and I ended up hiding under the bed. I was so paranoid. It was obviously not just a joint. But anyway, in Hawaii, white people face, especially foreign white people. Now, white people who are born and raised there, not so much, but white people who just moved there face a lot of opposition unless you get to speak with an individual and show them. But they told me when I got there, the island will either accept you or it will reject you. And at first, the island, for 10 years, the island loved me. I ended up moving to Maui because my buddy Alan got fired as director of the gallery. And so I left too. He got me the job, so I left. I went to Maui. Whew, excuse me, it's late. Started working at Longy's. When I first got there, I stayed with some friends of Alan on their couch, but they were not very nice people. And I ended up living for 2 years with 3 Mexican guys from Mexico, illegals. That's why when they were talking about build the wall, it cracked me up because these guys just got a visa, flew over, and stayed. No wall needed. They didn't have to climb nothing. They didn't walk the desert, nothing. So anyway, I got these roommates, and in the apartment is basically a living room, a bedroom, and a bathroom with a kitchenette. And there's 4 of us. Those individuals did not speak any English at all. I did not speak any Spanish. But we got along so famously. We would sit at the table and listen to mariachi music and that kind of thing, and get drunk, do, nose candy, and laugh and have a good time all night long, every night for 2 years. Until, we all went our separate way, that kind of thing. But, you outgrow one room 4 men. But anyway, I ended up being pretty successful doing that, and then I discovered booger sugar and developed quite a habit, about $500 a week. And it was easy to make $500 a week. A busboy at the restaurant I was working at could make $400 a night, so $500 a week was nothing. It was easy. Majority of the time, people will blow that money that they make because it's such easy money in bars and such at the end of your shift. Everybody's got a roommate, so Anyway, I guess what I'm getting at is, I forgot who I was and the experiences I went through because when I got back to the mainland, I didn't want to come back into this society, because Hawaiian society is, even at its worst, it's very pleasant. People make you be accountable there. You don't get to just, So I discovered the internet. And on the internet, I discovered this website called JTV and later Vaughn. And anyway, I became what's called a troll, a pro troll. I caused mad division. But even worse, I locked myself basically in a room and drank a 30-pack a day for, even when I had my own house, and it was a small house, and I was a machinist, I would get off work, before work, all that. I was a 30-pack a day drinker. And I would troll and be as mean and cruel and evil as I could be. Say the most vile shit in chat rooms. Now, a few years ago, I met a woman, and my life started to change for the better. It started to get better. It started to get, I got more and more sober. I got more and more, even, trial and tribulations, in and outs, all these things, all the way to present day. And now present day, I still go to that website, not JTV, it's Twitch now, but I still go to Vaughn, and I watch these individuals and the way they chat, and I think to myself, God, was I that guy? And I was far worse than any of these people. There was no political correctness. My apology is, I now see what I contributed to the darker side of humanity. And it wasn't like I was out beating people up or doing anything that you could see as vile. Like, it was all hidden and, changing IPs and names, but the message was bad. It wasn't good. And in my mind, I thought, because I was a 30-pack a day drinker. I'd come up with the money. I'd borrow, beg, steal, whatever. And now I'm 49 years old, sober, still in a relationship with that woman. And she betters my life constantly. And I look at how I am compared to how I was, and I'm ashamed of myself. So, very ashamed of myself. And I still have some major flaws, you know. You saw the previous video about my PTSD child abuse video, but the pain's real. And it's taken a lot for me to just come to grips with. You know, because I thought I was charmed because things were so easy. I forgot that I had to work at it. You know, the Hawaiian people did not want to accept me until they hear my story. They'd be like, "You're from Arkansas and you just came here. You don't know anybody. You don't know anything. Man, you got balls. You have balls." And they just could not fathom someone doing that. Moving thousands of miles across the ocean to one of the most remote places on earth with nobody and nothing. When you're white in that situation, you are no longer the oppressor. You're not. You know, they will remind you real quick. You were flown here, we were grown here, and, you know, people disappear all the time. It's humbling. I've said a lot of things that I regret over the years. I still say things that I regret, just not as severe. I go on the site and people still remember me from, 5 years ago. And the way that I conduct myself now. And I'm not on there like I was. I was so addicted to the internet when I discovered the internet that I would literally go to sleep after hours and hours and hours of being drunk on it and dream with a chat box. Like, I couldn't read the words or anything, because your mind didn't work that way, but that's how I was so addicted to the internet. Conspiracy theories and all kind of just information. And it took a long time for me to make my own and investigate. And luckily, I'm from a generation where we don't just trust everything that's given to us. We have to investigate and learn for ourselves. I still remember my home phone number, from childhood. Modern day people don't have that, They don't have the concept of sitting down and actually having to memorize and learn something because it's printed out and it's right there. They just go to Google, YouTube, whatever. There's no learning. They don't have to learn. Information's just right there. And a lot of it's bullshit. Anyway, I'm rambling now. I just wanted to say that I apologize for my part, my contribution of the dumbing down and evil, the giving the idea that being cruel just because you're online was okay. It was fun. It's something to be proud of. It's not. It's not. It's cowardly. It's cowardly. Half the things, not half, majority of the things that I have said online, I would never say in public, and not because of the repercussions of getting beat up or shunned, but just very rude, very mean, evil. And again, I don't believe in evil, but I don't know what else to call it. Anyway, I've gone way too long. The point of the video is that I apologize for my contributing to making others think it was okay to be that way, because I was lost in my disease of alcoholism. My mind is already, and I just believed it, fed into it, and I started sometimes you don't have to be physical to be evil. You don't even have to say it. The things that you put into the world, as far as through literature, music, internet, whatever, comedy, doesn't matter. Negativity is negativity. You know, bad, what do you call it, anyway, this video is very long. I appreciate anyone who made it through, and, Gonzo out.